So, hello again. So it's the first video of 2025, and as you can see, it's the ADV350. Now, I've done a lot of videos on the ADV350, but what I haven't done is talked about how well the fit and finish of the bike is standing up. And I had a few questions over the winter, just asking me that question, how's the corrosion on the bike, what are the plastic panels like, etc. So what I thought I would do in this video is just answer those questions by running through the bike from front to rear and from top to bottom, having a look at all the nuts and bolts and brakes and crannies and crevices and stuff in some detail, just to see how the bike is standing up from a fit and finish perspective. So hopefully that will be quite useful. And while I'm doing that, I'll also explain how I've been using the bike over the last 2 years and the last 6,000 miles, so you can get some idea of the usage and the context. So hopefully that will be of some use. And without further ado, let's start at the front. So while you're looking at the front end of the bike, just to explain usage and context, so the scooter has done just over 6,000 miles in all sorts of weathers. Now, I'm lucky enough not to have to do a commute, so it hasn't seen any hardcore winter commuting in the salt and grime. I mean, it has been ridden on salty roads and it has been ridden through a lot of rain. Now, when the bike does get wet, I don't really have drying facilities. So basically, when it's soaking wet, I just tend to chuck it in the shed and let it drip dry and then come to have a look at it in the morning. So, it's not had super hard usage, but again, it's not been pampered either. One thing that I did do when I first got it is I went around all the nuts and bolts and gave them a bit of a wipe with ACF50. Okay, so we're going to move on to look at the front radiator grille, and as you can see, the radiator is behind that plastic stuff and it's in really good condition. And also this shows that the grime thrown up from the mudguard only goes up about a third of the way, and that's because the mudguard is super long, which is great. So these are some parts of the engine. So that's the barrel. The silver thing on the right hand side is the barrel. Now, I would show you the spark plug, but I think you have to be a combination of an escapologist and a gynecologist, to take a look at it. So there's a wider view of the engine. I think all the nuts and bolts look in pretty good condition. And also the mild steel exhaust or silencer. Now this is one part, the underneath of the exhaust pipe where it joins the silencer, which has attracted a bit of corrosion. I mean, it's nothing serious, it's discoloured, it's doing that orange thing, and you can see some of the nuts and bolts are going a little bit furry, and it does attract a lot of crud, so I'll be cleaning that afterwards. Another part that has got a tiny bit of corrosion is the main stand, and I think that's mainly due to the fact that some of the welds are not the best, and they look like I've done it with my arm behind my back. So yeah, there's a few there, but nothing serious, and obviously it does get the brunt of the bad weather and the rain. So the rear end of the bike is looking pretty good. Again, a couple of furry bolts there, but the silencer, for a mild steel painted silencer, is looking pretty good, to be honest. Okay, so this is the rear suspension on the side of the CVT, and look at that breather pipe. It's got some horrible pungent liquid in it, so I need to get rid of that. But from a corrosion perspective, again, it's all looking pretty good, and it's probably the back end of the bike that does attract, most of the road filth. But there's a kind of like a dirty big hugger thing above the CVT where it all sort of collects, and it's only made out of plastic, and it protects you, the rider, from the majority of the spray. So there's a wider view of the back end. I think it looks all good. I mean, if you look at the oil filter on the left-hand side and some of the nuts and bolts there, they look like brand new. I mean, look at it, it looks great. And the oil filter doesn't get grubby. I know it might not be important, but, it just shows that some aspects of the bike are quite well protected. And so you can see it's really the underneath, or kind of like the bottom third of the bike, that attracts most of the crud. So we'll move on to the handlebars and the controls. So we're looking at the left-hand brake, the rear brake reservoir there. All looks perfectly good. There's none of that bubbling at the edge of the reservoir at all. And the master cylinder and the banjo bolts and stuff, all absolutely fine, not showing any corrosion whatsoever. So this is on the other handlebar. So this is the front brake reservoir. Again, looking good. It's not got any of that bubbling up or anything. So looking at the bodywork as a whole, I really like the matte bodywork actually. Yeah, it's a bit difficult to photograph and stuff, but it really doesn't show up any scratches, none of those micro scratches that you get on a shiny surface. I think it looks really, really good. So I'm very impressed with the bodywork. I know people like metal bodywork, but plastic is good. It's really durable and it's light. Okay, so hopefully that was of some use and you've got a good idea of how the bike has fared over the last 2 years and 6,000 miles in a lot of varied conditions, really, to be honest. So there's not too much rust. The exhaust pipe is going a little bit orange. All the rest of the nuts and bolts and stuff, yes, they've got a bit of a patina of age and things, but you know, there's no furriness or anything like that. And the plastic bodywork, despite being completely non-biodegradable, which means it's probably got a half-life of at least 7 million years, you know, the bodywork's great, doesn't show the micro scratches at all, so looks as good as new. And guess what, it was going to be sunshine all day today, and just as I've been recording this, a dirty big black cloud has come over and it's going to start absolutely hooning it down. So I'm going to get going, go home and get some battery. Right, hopefully that's worked, hopefully that's helped, and I will see you later.